Hello, friends. Welcome to Financial Sobriety School. My name is Linda Parmar. I'm the founder of Financial Sobriety School, a financial sobriety expert, and a certified money coach, here to help support you find financial sobriety and healing your relationship with money. Today's lesson feels a little heavy, and mostly because when I was doing my research for it, it really brought top of mind how interwoven it is into our lives. And what I'm talking about today is consumerism and capitalism. Oof, even saying those out loud. If you're on YouTube, you may notice that I'm having a little bit of a hot flash even talking about it. When I was writing in the blog, I like envisioned myself. I don't even know what cartoon it was. It was like Elmer Fudd when like he had that, like he'd get really angry and like his face would go red and smoke would come out of his ears. That's what it felt like to me when I started doing the research on this topic, because I know it affects our daily lives so much, and I know it's something that can be a reason why working on our money can feel really hard, because we have so many oppressive systems that are working against us, like consumerism and capitalism, in our society, that is so damaging to so many different things. And I'm going to walk you through what each of those are in today's lesson. And just kind of take care of your heart while you're listening to this. But I think that it's really important for financial sobriety overall for you to understand it, because it is so interwoven in everything. You hear a lot of people talk about like the patriarchy and, the white man in the big tower making all the decisions. And that's all of this, right? All of this is exactly that. And we think about what's happening in this world, and our economy right now is a struggle. And just really wanting to honor that for a second, because our day-to-day dollar isn't going very far at all. And then we have these systems in place like consumerism, capitalism, racism, sexism, like there's so many isms that is all tied into this that is really super harmful. So I just want you to, I don't think anything I'm going to be talking about is going to be triggering. But of course, like I know that racism and, all of this is interwoven in this, and that obviously can feel really triggering. But I also think that we need to be armed with information so that when we're making decisions with our money, we can have our eyes wide open. You get to choose, not all of the time, but some of the time, we get to choose how we spend our money. And voting with our dollars is something that I talk about a lot, because we have like these big box stores that have taken over the world. And what's hard is like sometimes shopping in those stores is only what's accessible to us because of capitalism and consumerism and the price that they get to, like Walmart, for example, is a company that can buy in mass bulk, so they get it at a lower price, so then you can buy it at a lower price most of the time, right? They can gouge you when they can gouge you, and they do overall. But when it comes down to that, like our specialty shops, small businesses, supporting local business is really important. And then sometimes it's harder to do that when they don't have the big buying power as the big corporations. And that's when the smoke wants to start coming out of my ears because it's not fair. It's not fair of, I understand that big corporations build really big businesses, and woo, good for them. Like sarcasm is entering here. But I just see it do so much harm in regards to people's businesses, livelihoods, getting laid off of jobs. Gonna get off my little soapbox here now because I can feel myself. The rant is continuing. And this doesn't need to be, essentially this. I wanted to have this lesson out for information for you to know, like, what all this stuff means. because being armed with power, like with that power about your money, is part of financial sobriety. What are you going to choose to do? What are you going to plan? Because planning is a huge piece of it with your money. What does that look like? So let's hop into what is even consumerism? Essentially, a Target. Target is consumerism wrapped in a little tight bow, a big, bright pink bow, as I'm wearing my beautiful fuchsia lipstick. Kind of like if you can see me in the lesson now, like I love like bright fuchsia colors, as you can tell by the branding, even in my business. And Target is like, you walk into that store, Target, and it looks like it's an advertisement. It's like, buy this. You need this to heal your life. You need this to make you happy. You need to wear this outfit. And those messages actually come from absolutely everywhere. Obviously, it's not just Target, but Target and the marketing and the planning that's put into that store. I've said this many times. I don't have many clients in the US. We don't have Target here in Canada, but I don't have a lot of clients in the US that are like, what's Target? Like, I don't know what Target is. Home goods, that sort of, like here in Canada, like Winners, Home Sense. The marketing and the psychology that goes into those stores so you buy is consumerism. It is a big shiny object that you see and you start to like fantasize about how this is going to change your life. And there might even be like advertising of that it will change your life. If you get this candle, you're going to be the most relaxed Zen person you've always wanted to be. How many times have you thought that when you bought a candle? I don't buy candles myself, but like even essential oils, like I love essential oils. And it's like, if I have this essential oil, maybe it will cure my life and I will feel zen. Like that, like it does support me, but it doesn't like heal things, right? Doing this work heals us, not something we're buying. Something we're buying to heal us is consumerism. It's that buying, to make ourselves feel better. And so just kind of like alcohol and drugs in general, we were buying that to make ourselves feel better. Well, consumerism is exactly why I do what I do, because it's the marketing and the lies that are being told of what you should buy, what you should do, how you should feel when you buy things. And it's a lot. It is a lot. It is, our world is being taken over with consumerism and capitalism that is telling you to buy stuff and then shaming you when you actually do, because then it's like probably put on a credit card. You're celebrated for putting it on that store's credit card, and then getting points for it. Yay, you. That sarcasm is coming in hot with that one too. It's like we fall for it, and it's so easy to fall for it. And because we've been programmed to fall for it, this isn't your fault if you see something and you're like, oh my God, I need that. Oh my God, that's gonna be everything for me. Don't think that that's something bad, because that's honestly the psychology and the like research that goes into that, so that your brain automatically thinks that when you see it, is mind-boggling to me. But that's what's happening. That's exactly what's happening when you're seeing that stuff in your mind, and then your mind thinks that you need to buy it, but there's that, your body remembers that like dopamine from the last time you did it, right? Consumerism is literally a neural pathway in your brain. Let's talk about that, right? It's literally like see, buy. Like you see it, you buy it. You see it, you buy it. That's just like, there's no thought into it whatsoever. Um, and it starts to become obsession, that obsession of spending, that obsession about feeling better, right? That obsession about, if I have this, if I wear this outfit on a work trip, I will look professional and feel professional, and this is going to go amazing. If I wear this outfit in my yoga class, I know I always use clothes, but because I love clothes. And if I wear this outfit in yoga, I'm going to be like the best yoga person, and like I'm going to have this spiritual experience that's going to change my life. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. Um, and overall, consumerism is just really a false promise that what you're buying is going to change you in some way. And, we see over, I think when I looked it up, it was like we see at least 500 advertisements in the beginning of our day, right? Whether that's online, Instagram with and Facebook and TikTok, even with like all the ads and stuff. And that's a huge thing that people are taking part in. And again, they're getting into those neural pathways, that dopamine. They know what you want to see with the information you're feeding Instagram, with what you click on, what you like, what you watch. All of that is then building like, oh, we're going to show her this ad, or we're going to show them this ad. And all of that stuff really is consumerism, right? It's showing you something on why you need to buy it, and then you buy it. And then does it actually complete our lives? Does it actually make us feel better? It might for like a second. And then you're going to get the package and be like, why did I order that again? Like, why did I do that? So just another reminder about that. And you may have just heard Bandit having a little freak out in the background there. Those who know Bandit, he likes to freak out. That's just who he is. So consumerism is about selling to you on what to buy and how it will complete your life. And it really actually is one of the things that I think is important to remind you of. It really can affect your mental health because, like, let's say, for example, like a program of something like, if you take this like I hit challenge, like in talking about starting to maybe change your body and having this big promise of something that it's going to deliver that you've always craved. And then it's like that in itself is diet culture, right? And all those messages are all that stuff that really isn't supporting you. And then we start to like beat ourselves up about it. We beat ourselves up because we're not following through, or we're not getting results that were promised because it's completely unrealistic and a lie. I could go on about that forever when it comes to those sort of things, because billions of dollars are spent in the diet culture industry these days. And and then when you're not getting what you think you were going to get out of it, and then you start beating yourself up, you start telling yourself that you're a failure. You start telling yourself that you're not like the others. And then comparison starts to happen. Well, this was supposed to fix me. And it is a real hard, like, that's what I mean about it being woven into everything, because our everyday lives were being shown all this stuff and being influenced. Like, literally, like, now people's job titles are influencers. Like, when we used to watch like a show like The Bachelor, for example, right? And it was like, this person was like a construction worker. It's like, no, this person's title and their job is influencer, and they make a crap ton of money because we're buying from them. So there's that. Right? It's like, there is that. I don't get many ads. Like, I get ads on Instagram. I think that the latest ad I got was like for some sort of mop. And I thought, like, yeah, I don't get exciting ads. Like, I don't engage in stuff like that. But TikTok lately, I love TikTok, but more just for like it's It's a little bit of a numb out for me. Let's call it what it is. It's my TikTok time. I love after the bath just to and like I watch all the funny stuff and ads come up, but I can just immediately swipe through them. But what I've noticed lately is they are just there's this one product that's trying to sell me. And I don't know if I should feel offended or not, but it is always about like this bikini line trimmer, like hair trimmer thing, and every single freaking ad is about this trimmer, and I'm like, I don't need that. I don't need that. I swipe through so fast, and it's almost in like every second or third video it comes up, and it's always the same thing. And it's like, okay, algorithm, you're not picking up that I don't need it. And I never talk about it, just like how our phones listen to us. So there's that. Um, I can go on lots of rants today about this subject. So let's talk about capitalism. I took a course in 2022. I received my designation in 2023 from the Trauma of Money Institute. And when I thought about like trauma and money, I thought about like my childhood. Thought about like how like tension and different things happen with money, and like being complete scarcity deprivation with money, that sort of thing. But they really opened my eyes. Like, I obviously knew about capitalism and the systems because I worked in a bank here in Canada for 20 plus years. So I saw the oppression and the systematic racism that was happening in there. But I got my eyes wide open and I found it so heartbreaking. And yeah, I had a I'll just talk about it. Like my experience I had at the bank that I worked at, and it's all banks here in Canada. And we were one of those banks. It was federally regulated, so like you had to open up like certain like bank accounts for everyone, even if you were homeless and didn't have an address. Like we had to still open an account for you. And so I worked in a town that had quite a large First Nations band that lived there. And the racism that I saw happening when these people, when even saying that, when these people, when the people were opening the bank accounts and we couldn't do any sort of like credit card applications for them. We couldn't do any lending to them whatsoever because of like the land that they lived on. They didn't even own. And things like that were just so frustrating. And as I've done this work on racism and all of that, it really, really brings home how harmful that was. And I'm feeling emotional as I'm talking about it because I feel a lot of shame about it. I feel a lot of shame about what I saw and how people were treated, and it really, and then from there all the information came out about like the residential schools and all of that. And yeah, again, I could this conversation can go in many directions. And I won't go into any more detail about that because I don't want it to be harder. And that's my privilege, right? And I guess I don't want to have anything super triggering come up all of a sudden in this, but just taking a step back of how the financial system worked and things that I was involved in with no, those were the rules, right? And I could only approve certain things, I could only do certain things. And it's really, really sad. And I know for sure it's still happening, even with all of the promises that the government has made here in Canada. I can't imagine anything's changed. And yeah, capitalism is in our banks and our profits and the big white men in the towers who are making decisions in regards to that was absolutely what I experienced in the banking industry here in Canada. And it makes me feel really, really grateful that I don't have to do that anymore, and that I can sit here and let you know about things, to educate you, to help you make decisions about things, and open your eyes. Because what's happening in our society with capitalism and a bunch of different things that way, so many of the isms, um, is wrong. It's completely wrong, and it's a battle we face every day. And again, kind of that economy and how our dollars aren't going very far. And that's capitalism at its finest right now, because it's showing up in our lives in where we're shopping and how much, the government and interest rates and how they control the economy that way. That's capitalism. And the cost that places can buy things for, as I was talking about in the beginning, like the big stores who are running out all of the small businesses because they have buying power that the local, mom and pop shops just don't have. And online shopping, the capitalism that's taking place there, Amazon, right? Like, there's so many times too in this world that we're living, and we have so much to-do lists. It's just easier sometimes to order online, a lot of us think. And then it's again, those small shops are closing down, and you see things like Etsy and things that are really like homemade, and well, not even homemade most of the time, but it's just like local business led. And what different choices can you make, instead of a corporation that is, of course, a business is going to be focused on profit. I understand that, but at what cost? Literally, at what cost? And so capitalism essentially started. I don't have the date written down. I should have written that down for this, but it was a documentary I watched when I was doing the trauma of money. And it was essentially about this man who started to, start to work on the psychology, and like the exchange of money started. It was before the fur trade and all that sort of stuff. And it was like people starting to exchange money, and how he was able to use the psychology of it for people to buy more things. And then he started to become like the richest man, and then he started different things, and it just, rich white men. And I acknowledge that I am sitting here in a female body, privileged to be saying this to you, privileged enough to be running my own business, privileged as a white woman talking to you right now. And those men, white men in those towers who are making decisions, affect me, but nothing like marginalized communities are being affected. And so thinking about it, like when you're doing online shopping or like shopping in retail stores, thinking about that, right? Thinking about like, okay, like how am I voting with my dollars right now? Because it does count. I know it to be true. And this is where, yeah, it just feels so heavy. Just feels so heavy. But it's important information. It's what I'm going to keep reminding myself as we lead ourselves through this lesson. Our employment is affected by capitalism, right? Because the job market and, how much you get paid. Like it really depends on like skills, experience, all this sort of thing. And they try to like lowball you, and you have to hustle for your worth in the job market. A lot of places, especially like smaller companies, when bigger corporations are making the most money and getting all the business, those smaller companies are then like laying off people, and maybe people are losing their jobs. We've seen that so much lately. Capitalism is showing up there big time. I talked about the banks and all of the different like loan rates and all of that sort of stuff. I know in the United States, I don't remember what they call them. Um, maybe like red districts, something like that, or blue. There's certain lines on maps where, like, if you live in those certain areas, because it's usually maybe like a Black community, a Hispanic community, something like that, where they won't even lend to people that are living in those neighborhoods because of racism, because of capitalism, systemic oppression at its finest. And the fact that that actually is still happening in this world just makes me so sick. And yeah, I just have to, I feel my adrenaline rushing, and this is what I teach in my work, is to really take a minute sometimes. And when I was even writing this stuff out, it really, like, my body was having like tingling feelings and I was really feeling affected by it. So let's just all take a collective breath together that this is some hard stuff. Yeah, it's hard to talk about. It's hard to put this information out there when it's there's so much stuff happening in the world. And yeah, thanks for letting me take that pause, even though you didn't actually have a choice. But it's really important for ourselves when we're talking about stuff like this and experiencing stuff like this, that we come back into our bodies, because I can feel myself like keep kind of coming and going and coming and going. So I think it's really important for me to normalize that that's what we need to be doing when we're having conversations like this. Um, our healthcare is something that's really affected by capitalism. And when it comes to what's available to us, the sales of the pharmaceuticals, the things that you can buy, like insurances, all of that, that's, profit, profit, profit. Capitalism is just a clear focus on profit. And yes, we want to make money. People in this world want to make money. But again, I'm just bringing back the whole thing of like, but at what cost? What is this costing us? Um, our like technology, right? I'm an Apple user, love Apple. I think it's a brilliant thing to do. But I think that one of the things that is also super important to really realize is that you'll all of a sudden have it where, like, oh, my phone won't update. Well, then you have to go to Apple and get a new phone, because like then you can't like use your phone. Capitalism at its finest is going to work until it's not going to work anymore, because then you're going to have to buy another one. Great system they have going on, but it's frustrating as a consumer, especially because like phones, and like I think Apple had their newest release of stuff, and like those alternate worlds, like those eye things you can put on. I feel so old even trying to talk about this right now, but like, and I don't even understand what they are. But it's like all the new stuff that they've put out, and it's just more, more, more. And that's where the consumerism comes in, right? Capitalism is a lot about like the profit, where consumerism is about like buy, buy, buy. This will help fix you, this will heal you. There's so many different ways that they're the same thing, but different in some ways as well. um Other things did I want to make sure I talked about? Our housing market, what a shit show that is. Here in Canada, it is an absolute nightmare. I know in the States it is too. And even being able to like rent is actually sometimes even more than being able to buy, is more than like a mortgage payment would be. But then you don't qualify for a mortgage. So because you don't make enough money because you might be on disability or something like that, like it's just a system that has us going around in circles. Where as a human being, we should be able to really make sure that we have a roof over our head. I'm not going to go on about that. It's taking me everything not to have this be a super politically driven fact finding mission on what's going on in the world. Because I feel like sometimes as a human being, it, you just feel taken advantage of. Who feels that? You might feel that. I see you because I feel like that. As you can tell, the passion and the anger that's coming up in me talking about this is because, and like when I'm coaching and then when I'm supporting people and they're being taken advantage of because of these systems, rage. I feel so angry. So that's where I have to like regulate myself and make sure that I am being in my body. But that takes some time and that takes some practice. But I always like to, again, normalize that and show people what to do in those circumstances. Food, dining out, there's Uber Eats, there's Skip the Dishes, DoorDash, all of that, right? All of that is to make a profit, to have food delivered to you, which then starts to become a consumerism thing because then it's just like convenience and you're buying, buying, buying. Again, they go hand in hand. They are married together. They are, that negative energy of all of that is capitalism and consumerism. And you get to vote with your dollars. You get to choose some of the time. And so, really going in with your eyes wide open. And it's hard. When I wanted to get this message across, I didn't want it to be like a doomsday, but I also needed to honor that it's hard information to tell people and to open your eyes about some of the things and to make you think about it, be like, oh my God. And a lot of this we don't have control over, right? But we do have control over some things, like how sometimes we spend our money when we have a choice. And it brings back, like what they say for if you've been part of a 12-step program, like grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. I always have to grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. When we're talking about consumerism and capitalism, that serenity prayer can come in really, really handy. Mine is Goddess, grant me the serenity, and say it from there. And really, what can we choose to focus on, but also have our eyes open of like, okay, what am I participating in here? What's really going on here? Big deep breaths. Lots of information and a lot of that felt like a lot of negative, like heavy stuff. I hope that you were able to take care of your heart. I'm going to finish this lesson and I am going to go and do some breathing. I'm going to write in my journal and I am going to take care of my heart because it felt like a big responsibility to talk about some of this stuff. But I think it was really important. I really hope that you are doing well and that when you hear this information, know that you can make some choices to do the best that you can make the next right choice for your financial sobriety. You deserve financial sobriety and you are worthy of financial sobriety. Thank you so much for tuning in for this lesson. There will be next week's in a couple weeks, the lesson. I'm starting back up doing some live coaching on the podcast for the lessons. So Those will be starting to come. I'm scheduling them this week. If you are interested and want to be on the podcast, let me know. Linda@lindaparmar.com. Or if there's a question about money you've always wanted to know but maybe scared to ask, and you don't need to come onto the podcast, you can just send me your question. Please do that. I would love it. Linda@lindaparmar.com. Review this episode, this podcast, YouTube, if it was something that was supportive to you. I hope that it was. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in a couple weeks.